Here's to whiskey kisses with the peachy taste of sin.
It's whiskey time! Greetings, whiskey folk. Welcome back to Drinking Out Loud. I'm your host, as ever, Adam Bradshaw, and I'm here at the Strath to share with you the March 2024 SMWS Outturn. Outturn 149. And yeah, I know. It's a little late, and I apologise for that. It's been a busy month. But better late than never, and we've got some wonderful whiskies to share here with you today. And only a couple of them have sold out already, and I'm very, very sorry for those of you who have missed out on those whiskies. They were quite something. But I'm here to tell you that at least on the two occasions that I've had these before, the two Outturns, neither of the ones that sold out were actually my favourites on the night. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about what whiskies we have here in front of us. And it's going to be exciting, excellent tasting. But if you would like to join me for the next SMWS Outturn here at the Strath, Outturn 150 for SMWS Canada, it's a special one. We have made some changes to the way our Outturns work. Right now, we're running 3 Outturns. We're doing 2 tastings and a dinner. Yeah. All right. So dates of those: Thursday, March 28th at 4 p.m. We have our first tasting. That's a Thursday evening, and that's going to be the first chance that anyone over here gets to try the brand new releases for the 150th Outturn. And then on Friday, April 5th, yes, over a week later, because Easter's in the way. Friday, April 5th, we are having a stunning SMWS dinner, which is actually already sold out. So if that sounds like something you'd want to come along to, it's going to be wonderful. We're doing the regular Outturn plus an extra dram paired with your entree of choice. We're giving you a choice of 3 or 4 entrees. Plus, there's going to be SMWS whiskey infused into the dessert as well. I believe they're doing an ice cream brownie kind of thing this month for us. So that's a special new collaboration with the Sticky Wicket that we're doing. Plus, on Sunday, the final of our 3 Outturn tastings, and that's Sunday, April the 7th. We're going to be having a 3 p.m. Outturn. Yeah. Why are we starting at 3 now instead of 4? Good question. And I have a very good answer for you. Because your Outturn ticket, if you come to the Sunday Outturns, will now include entry to a live blues music session that is happening every Sunday now in our venue in the basement. So you go, you drink some whiskey, you have a bit of food, and then you go down and listen to some live blues music afterwards, all included in the price of the tasting. So tickets for the 2 tasting events, not the dinner unfortunately, are still available at strathliquor.com/SMWS. Pick them up while you can. But let's fire into these tastings, and the first bottle we're going to talk about today is Bubblegum Buns. Apple segments played dodgeball against chunks of toffee armed with black currants. A cloud of cotton candy lingered overhead, raining lemon juice over this sweetest of sporting events. On the palate, we found chewy malt loaf and a chili flake crust, pine resin, and plaster of Paris. Water introduced more delicate sweet notes to the nose, beginning with heather honey and retro pear-flavoured bubblegum, then morphing to cold white bread and salt crystals. The reduced palate was refreshingly different, with coconut, sour plums, brioche buns, and a gentle wood spice. All right. Okay, so it's been a week and a half now since I last tried these whiskies. You can see the bottle's mostly empty. It's had a little bit of extra time to oxidize. I'm about to offend half of Reddit, I think, or at least the whiskey portion of Reddit. If you're afraid of the neck pour, which doesn't exist, then you no need to be afraid anymore. It's gone. The neck pour is well and truly gone. And for those not familiar with the concept of a neck pour, it makes no sense. It's the idea that the first dram is rubbish because it's been at the neck and is oxidized. As soon as that, like, basic liquid sort of physics say that when you pour the bottle, you don't get just the bit that was sat at the top as your first pour. Liquid doesn't work like that. And also, like, it makes no sense. Yeah, anyway. Neck pours, not a thing. Bubblegum buns. This is a first fill ex-bourbon barrel. It was aged for 11 years, distilled on the 28th of September 2011. Oh, that's lovely smell. Outturn of 237 bottles and an ABV of 57.3. It is juicy oak and vanilla. And it's cask number 72.118. 118, why is there was some kind of weird British advertising jingle about 118, 118. I think it was one of those like reverse charge phone numbers or something that you could do back in the day. 118, 118. Yeah. And there was two guys with matching sweaters. One said 118, one was... Anyway, that's not necessarily the important number. The important number here is Distillery 72, a distillery that I have learnt to quite enjoy. Yeah. That is a really peachy nose. Not peachy. Wrong pea fruit. Peary. It's a really peary nose. Tinned pears, actually. Tinned pears, to be precise, in that syrup, which is something my dad used to enjoy on, actually, weirdly enough, white bread, which was mentioned down here. White bread, butter, tinned pears on a Sunday afternoon. It was one of my dad's simple delights that he enjoyed. Possibly still does. My dad's still with us, just... sounded like I was doing past tense very much there, but no, he might well still have tinned pears. I'm not sure. It's an interestingly morpheus whiskey, this. It starts off like zesty, vibrant. It's got that lemony kind of lemon juice thing, but it kind of like bursts and then like trickles. There's a whole bunch of exciting, vibrant flavors, and it just kind of calms down. You know, it's doing an interesting dance. But yeah, sweet pears, zesty lemons, very much a fruit bowl of a kind of a thing. I'm not really getting the bubblegum kind of flavors. I'm not that familiar with bubblegum, though. Frankly, it's been a good 30 years probably since I've had bubblegum at this point. Always used to make my jaw ache. I never found the fun in that. Yeah. Coconut, sour plums. There is a breadiness to it. I wouldn't say it's I definitely wouldn't say it's at the forefront of the flavor profile, but... All right, so what is Distillery 72? I mentioned it was an interesting one. It's an interesting one that kind of negates some past trivia that I've done, because I've done trivia many times for a different distillery called Glen Grant, saying that it's one of... I said at the time, it's the only distillery named after a person in Scotland. That is not entirely true, because this one kind of is. It was actually takes its name from the farm that it was located on when it first started, and then the surname of the family that owned it. So not necessarily maybe one person, although maybe, but certainly the surname of the family, and that is the farm of Milton and the family of Duff. It's a Milton Duff, yeah. It debuted as an official bottling as part of a special series called the Caledonian Malts, alongside Lafroig, Scapa, and Glendronach, which is a fantastic trilogy of whiskies to be associated with. And I think Milton Duff doesn't get enough love. It's a lovely little whiskey. And this is a particularly juicy version of it. We do still have some of this available, strathliquor.com/SMWS for $209.48. Yeah, if you want something that's vibrant, exciting, springtime, summertime kind of a whiskey, Milton Duff will do you no wrong. This is a beautiful example of a good, fruity first fill ex-bourbon cask. And I'm fairly sure we still have some of this in stock. If you go to our website and find that you don't, well, of course, you can always visit our partner store over in Legacy. It's called Legacy. It's in Vancouver. They might have some as well. I know they got some bottles of this. And a special hello to the rest of our partners over here in Canada. Keg and Cork in Edmonton, and Kensington Wine Market in Calgary. And Arc in Kelowna. I almost forgot you, Arc. I know you're brand new, and I still haven't chatted with the guys at Arc yet. I should. I feel like I need to go over there and introduce myself and hang out with the new SMWS group. But yeah, speaking of SMWS group, today's theme is quality and creativity, and a spotlight on the SMWS whiskey team, and that's you, and on the front there, the head of whiskey creation. That's one of the things that makes the SMWS particularly special, is it's not just one person's vision, although, it did start with Pip Hills, but he's shared that vision with hundreds of people at this point who have worked with the SMWS over the last 40 years. And it's very much a group effort. But Ewan is the one at the end of the day that makes sure that everything that is put out to members is of the most exquisite quality. Yeah, so thanks, Ewan. Next up, we have one that I am absolutely astounded hasn't sold out yet, because it's actually the first time I've ever had something from this distillery in the SMWS in Canada. It's actually only the 10th time we've ever had anything from this distillery, and it's a distillery I love, and until tasting this exact next whiskey, had never had it at cask strength, and it's a wonderful experience. So next up, whiskey number 2 this month is A Breakfast Like No Other. We'd never had such a meal to start the day. Our noses found apple juice being poured over clotted cream, lemon icing and lavender. One panellist had a side serving of toast too. To the palate, we were tucking into cinnamon buns dusted with teak wood shavings and dunked in bramble jelly as we wore welly boots and a woolly jumper. Water brought out wild strawberries, blueberry compote, red currants and damp soil on the nose, while the palate was treated to lemon zest, creamy vanilla and a touch of star anise and fennel. I really like this one. Big fan. It was probably the whiskey I was most looking forward to trying. Like I said, first time ever. And it did not disappoint. Sometimes you hype a whiskey up and it doesn't quite live up to the hype. This one lived up to my hype. Distillery 79.10. Never before seen in Canada. Outturn, they got 216 bottles out of this first fill ex-bourbon barrel that was matured for 11 years and distilled on the 2nd of April, 2012. ABV of 60.8. It's got some oomph to it, this one. And it's a distillery that I'm not used to this level of oomph, and I wish it had more oomph normally. See, the thing that really stood out in that tasting note was the teak shavings. And I'm not a giant wood expert. I wouldn't be able to tell you, one wood from another generally. I recognize oak at this point, mostly, but teak is one of those one of those woods that rings a bell, because I have a handmade portfolio made of teak, like thin sheet of teak on metal, which I used back in the day when I was like a freelance or graphic designer. So I would display my work in it. It's absolutely beautiful. And yeah, the nose kind of reminds me of the smell of desperately trying to find clients. No, it has this weird, interesting, like exotic-y, woody kind of a smell to it. Almost, yeah. There was a old It was an old bar stool set that I used to have in Australia made of rubber tree wood as well. Kind of, yeah, it's an interesting different wood nose, which is kind of cool. Yeah, what else has it got on here? Lemon icing and lavender. I'm not really getting that sort of floral side of things, but I'm definitely getting the creaminess that it mentioned. This is a big, clotted cream is a perfect tasting note for this one for me. And there it is. There's a note I was having trouble placing for the longest time. And I still don't have an exact equivalent because I don't think this exists. In fact, I'm fairly sure it doesn't exist. But imagine a wine gum that tasted of gooseberries. It's like a weird hybrid of a gooseberry and a wine gum just kind of smashed together. It's absolutely gorgeous on the palate. I love this whiskey. And like I said, it's not sold out yet, and that is a travesty. Yeah, big fan of this. Yeah. Creamy, like a vanilla custard slice, actually, as well. It's got that sort of custardy creaminess. So what can I tell you about Distillery 79? I think it's the first time I've ever talked about this distillery on this channel, which is wild, seeing as I've probably spent 1,000 hours talking to you guys now on the internet about whiskey. Maybe not quite 1,000 hours, but it feels like it. I was looking back at some of the old videos that I can't even remember making at this point. It has been, actually, I believe, on the day that this being uploaded, is the 4-year anniversary of me starting this channel, because it's, of course, started because of COVID. Wild. Yeah, it was like the 13th or 14th of March, I think, that I started setting up this channel, which is, yeah, it's setting. Anyway, sorry, weird tangent. But again, I believe for the first time ever mentioning this distillery on this channel, it's a Deanston. Yeah, Deanston was built in 1785, but not as a distillery. It was built by legendary architect Richard Arkwright, who I have a bit of an interesting personal connection to, because my parents lived just down the road from a town called Arkwright, named after Richard Arkwright. And one of Arkwright's original cotton mills was actually in Derbyshire. We took a school trip there. I wrote a big report about it. I even wrote a song about cotton mills in Arkwright, which, interestingly enough, back in my folk music days. But yeah, it started off as a cotton mill and was actually home for the prototype spinning jenny, which was his big invention that kind of was one of the things that kickstarted the Industrial Revolution. So a very important building. Also important building because it had, at the time, the biggest water wheel in all of Europe. And still today, it's one of the biggest. It turns 20 million litres of water per hour into electricity, which is added to the grid in the Southern Highlands of Scotland. Yeah. It didn't become a distillery until 1969, and it was actually one of the earliest available single malts to hit the shelves. The official bottling Deanston is one of the first. Of course, Glen Grant, Glenlivet, Glenfiddich, Macallan were kind of the first few to hit the shelves. But yeah, Deanston was amongst them in 1974, so very early in the single malt game, which is really interesting. Yeah, it's a Highland, it's a beautiful distillery. I very much look forward to trying, hopefully, some more single cask Deanstons in the future. I'm hoping this isn't just a random one-off and that they decided to start selling single casks. They're owned by the same company that owns Tobermory, Lechaig, and Boonhaven, and we get a decent amount of those through the SMWS, so I'm hoping that this will join the ranks. All right, what's next? What is next? That's a good question. Whiskey number 3 today is a real tonic. We found ourselves walking through a pine forest eating parkin and golden syrup flapjacks before we made a break and started a barbecue with Texas-style baked beans and sausages. A wonderful texture on the palate to eat, with the sweetness of dark cherry fondant chocolates, maple pecan pie, and cinnamon butter. After reduction, we found that an enticing herbal note appeared, like in candied fennel seeds and ground coriander, but also cocoa powder and a hint of sweet mint. To taste, we found rum and raisin fudge, as well as toasted coconut in the finish. Refreshing, fresh ginger juice. Following 11 years in an ex-bourbon hogshead, we transferred this whiskey into a first fill Spanish oak Oloroso hogshead. This is wonderful. It was distilled on the 13th of December 2004 for a total of 14 years of aging between the two casks. 284 bottles came out at an ABV of 57.6, and this is distillery 85.78. It is actually a sister cask to Beer Pong, a legendary whiskey that's one of our customers liked so much that they ended up buying 3 bottles of it, and it's their favourite for drinking alongside a cigar. And also the GTR, the Ginger Tobacco Rum from December 2022. So yeah, third in a trilogy of sister casks, which is actually, funnily enough, a little bit of a trend that might happen again soon. But yeah, this is beautiful. Nice ex-sherry finish. And yeah, we talked about sherry a lot last month on the SMWS and how the SMWS is filling a lot of sherry casks, and we've been seeing a lot of finishes, and soon we'll be seeing a lot of whiskey that the SMWS bought as new make and put straight into sherry casks. That's a thing that they're doing now, which is very exciting. That's normally G&M's sphere. Yeah, going straight into a bit of sherry here. Interesting sort of order to this month as well. It was mostly inspired by Evan. I did tweak it slightly myself, but thanks Evan for the interesting order this month. Very, very nutty on the nose. I find it very interesting that Parkin is a note in the book here, because back when I did Remember, which I have a bottle up there somewhere, it's right there. Back when I did my notes for Remember, which was all very Guy Fawkesy themed, I was going to put Parkin in the notes, but I thought that no one would have ever heard of Parkin. And I'm probably right, but that hasn't really stopped the SMWS previously, so maybe I should have included it. Parkin is a dense molasses-based ginger cake that's heavily spiced, that is most commonly served around Guy Fawkes Night in Yorkshire. It's delicious. I have a recipe, and I may have accidentally promised to make some at some point for one of the new SMWS dinners. I have to ask Chef if I'm allowed to use the kitchen, because I can't just bring stuff from home. That's not allowed. But yeah, maybe I'll make some Parkin for one of them. Maybe in November I'll make Parkin. Yeah. Big, herbal, nutty, classic Oloroso, to be honest. With a nice umami, like, not beef stock, not chicken stock, but like a pork stock. Is that a thing? Can you buy pork stock? I don't know. Anyway, it's got like a neutral meaty umami-ness beneath it, which is quite nice. Probably why they're getting in these Texas-style baked beans and sausages, actually. The same kind of flavour that I'm probably picking up as they are there. And a nice light cinnamon dusting, almost like the sugar cinnamon that you sometimes get on the top of like a latte or something. Yeah, if you like Oloroso sherry casks, this is a classic rendition of that favourite. Yeah. So Distillery 85. It's a distillery that we actually had last month, funnily enough. It was number 1 in the February Outturn. It was originally... Sorry, it's actually named after a town, but it's not in that town. It's actually in the town of Fogwat, and I can understand why they didn't call it Fogwat. I think I may have said on the video last month that I liked the name Fogwat. It hasn't grown on me. It's kind of done the opposite. I'm realizing that Fogwat sounds like the name of like a Wind in the Willows kind of character. That, yeah, I feel like Fogwat is some kind of unicycle riding toad, which is delightful, but not delicious. Glen Elgin, probably a better name. I did learn, however, it's one of 3 distilleries in one of my all-time favourite blended whiskies. Blended malt whiskies, I should say. The Kincardine from Adelphi. And now Kincardine was part of a little mini-series they did of blending Scotch whiskies with world whiskies. It started off, I think, the first one was the Glover, the new edition of which should be landing soon, hopefully. I'm just waiting for it to clear. But yeah, the Kincardine was Amroot, and they blended Amroot with Macallan and Glen Elgin, which is really neat. It was a delicious whiskey. Yeah. Slasher. You can pick this up right now, $257.30 for a single cask 14-year-old sherry cask whiskey. That's pretty much the going rate these days here in PC. I know it's no secret that whiskey has and will continue to increase in cost, but it's, well, we're whiskey lovers, so there's not much we can really do about it. Actually, there is. We can stick with one key thing, which I'm encouraging pretty much everyone to do right now. Drink less, but drink better. And I think the SMWS is a great way to achieve that goal. Because, yeah, frankly, it's not a healthy habit to be drinking a lot of alcohol, but we all understand why we do it. And when we do it, we should make sure we're only drinking the best. And I think I can raise a glass to that concept. And the next whiskey today is an effervescent sparkle. A lovely sweet floral aroma permeated immediately the room as we poured this sample. That was followed by the refreshing scent of lemon meringue pie and honey-glazed brioche hot cross buns. On the palate, sparkling white grape, pear, and apple juice alongside cracked black pepper pull-apart biscuits served with strawberry jam and orange blossom honey. Following a reduction, we smoked an apple shisha with some Jaffa cakes and a mug of Earl Grey tea by the side, to taste cinnamon-baked apples with oats and brown sugar, while in the finish, soft honey nougat with almonds and pistachios. So I'm realizing that I'm talking about the following reduction, the added water tasting notes, and I'm not doing that myself. And that was actually a decision I made to try and make sure that this video didn't go too long. But also, I had it with and without water both other times at the Outturns, and I at the time at least didn't find any drastic changes. Most of these whiskies had basically the same profile to me, just a little less alcohol, and that's fine. I don't mind having an excuse to drink whiskey at Cask Strath. It's a fuller experience, full of flavour. And speaking full of flavour and full of experience, this is one of those whiskies. So this is an 18 years aged lowland whiskey that may or may not have been triple distilled. It was. From a first fill ex-bourbon barrel. 18 years in first fill. That, especially for a high ABV distillate that's been triple distilled, is begging to be over-oaked, and somehow this wasn't. And it's been part of now a trilogy of whiskies that are part of this series, and all of them have turned out to be spectacular. In fact, I mentioned Reddit earlier. It's one of the places I enjoy reading people's opinions about whiskey. There's one guy over in Alberta that does hilarious reviews of the SMWS every month, and he has absolutely loved all of this series. I don't remember reading about this one, actually. I might not have seen if he liked this one. I think this is the best of the trilogy, but I know that he absolutely loved the first couple as well. And in case you're wondering, the first couple were lip-smacking and seductively luscious, get it right, from June of 2022, and Embrace Balmy Summer of August of 2023. And I think we have at least one bottle of both of those actually left in stock, funnily enough. That's weird. So you might be able to pick up an entire trilogy of sister casks, funnily. So it's from the 27th of January 2003, much like the other two. An Outturn, again a low Outturn of 97 bottles, an ABV of 57.8. Like I said, from a first fill ex-bourbon barrel, and this is distillery number 5. One of those numbers that some people have memorized from the SMWS. The first 10 I think I've got down now. For the longest time, I didn't remember number 8 because I don't think we've ever had one. But I know what that is now, thanks to the SMWS 40th anniversary little limited edition release where they did a 1, a 9, an 8, and a 3. I know what 8 is because I was really hoping that we were going to get some, and it hasn't appeared yet. I don't know if it will. It's Tamdu. Not this. This is not a Tamdu. This is a 5. This is a Auchentoshan. And Auchentoshan is quite unique because it is owned by an international conglomerate, of course, Beam Suntory, and unlike pretty much every other whiskey I can think of that's owned by an international conglomerate, it is not an integral part of a blend that they also own. If you think about it, Ardmore is in Teachers, for example. Lefroy is still in a bunch of blends, not as much as Ardmore, but even Macallan still goes into Famous Grouse, This is not sold to the blending market at all. It is all released as single malt or as single casks to blending houses. Now, to blending houses, to independent bottlers. Now, some of those independent bottlers do end up using them in blends, limited edition ones. So, for example, Douglas Lang, they've got a couple that use Auchentoshan. They've got a double-barreled where there's 2 different distilleries. I think it's a Lowland and a Speyside, I think. I think it's a Lowland Speyside and a Highland Isla, I think, maybe. Anyway, one of them's got Auchentoshan in. And, of course, the range of Epicurean, which is their Lowland blend, which is a mix of malts from across the Lowlands. Almost definitely has Auchentoshan in. But yeah, in general, not a blending ingredient, which is kind of unique. Its warehouse was apparently hit by a bomb during a German blitz in 1941, which created a stream of burning whiskey that flowed into the river, and a crater where that bomb exploded is now a pond. I don't know how I managed to not know that about Auchentoshan yet. It's amazing, like, how many years I've been presenting whiskies, and Auchentoshan comes up quite often, and I still find new information sometimes when I go looking for it. It's kind of fun. So, big orchard fruits. There's a nice sort of Riesling-esque sort of minerality and grapiness to it as well. There is that sort of soft, powdery floralness, almost like a talcum powder kind of a thing. Yeah, that's good. That's real good. And this 18-year-old single cask single malt can be yours. We still have a couple of bottles for $282.09. Strathliquor.com, $282.09. All right. Whew. All right, we move on to our next whiskey, which is sold out already, I'm sorry to say. But in case you're interested in finding out what we enjoyed, the next whiskey was Poised Peat. The panel felt this was a gorgeous and evocative nose full of white coastal flowers, chalk, lemon pith, sandalwood, green muddled herbs, a tang of sea air, and a kiss of peat smoke. We also noted Earl Grey tea leaves and limestone. Some water brought out wintergreen, burlap, heather honey, shilling beers, and olive oil. When neat, the palate was beautifully peaty in an understated and very classy fashion. Lots of soft, heathery and herbal Orcadian peat, then olive bread, herbal teas, and sandalwood. Bonfire embers and seaweed crackers. Reduction brought a light sootiness and some peat embers, bandages, and gently refreshing briny qualities, with some lovely beeswax notes in the aftertaste. At 8 years of age, we combined selected casks from the same distillery, and then returned the single malt into a variety of different casks to develop further. And this is one of those casks. Another in a series of Orcadian single malt whiskies that came from a single cask that are not single cask whiskies. All right. You know this is a Highland Park. It's a number 4, 4.349. Yeah, 12 years age from October 2009. 240 bottles is 61.4. Ex-bourbon into ex-bourbon. Hogsheads into barrels. Into a first fill ex-bourbon barrel, actually. The final cask. And I'm not going to linger too long on this one because it's already gone. But it is gorgeous. It's exactly what you expect from a Highland Park, but with an, I would say, extra coastalness. This is an extra coastal Highland Park. A little bit more briny than normal. Oh, yum, that's good. It's got like a green pepper note, like a capsicum bell pepper. Yeah, it's like a smoked bell pepper. That's nice. Olive bread, sure. Yeah, you can see that. It's got a sort of sourdoughy kind of tang to it. Yeah. Seaweed crackers, bonfire embers. All, like, honestly, the tasting notes from the panel are spot on for this one. It's, if you were to read these notes without, and buy this whiskey based on the notes, I don't think you could possibly be disappointed once you open it. It's a very good descriptor. Yeah, lovely. It's a sister cask to a Work of Finesse from March of 2023, so a year ago. We had a Work of Finesse. And there's a lot of mystery surrounding the origins of this distillery. Ooh, I like a good mystery. Some say it was founded by a smuggling priest, others by a very entrepreneurial farmer. And apparently, There are some accounts that say that it was not called Highland Park originally. It was simply known as Kirkwall, the name of the town that it's in, and the name that a lot of independent bottlers use as a pseudonym for Highland Park when they're not allowed to say what it is. Or, apparently, for a period, it was known as Rosebank, which must have been very confusing, as there is another distillery in the lowlands called Rosebank, although perhaps that wasn't open yet at the time. Anyway, interesting. So this is sold out at the Strath. I should have checked to see if it's sold out everywhere. You might be able to pick this up at Legacy or somewhere else. Price here in BC, $239.91. Lovely. All right, next up we've got the second of our two instant sellouts this month. This one is also not available, but I'm going to take a quick re-peek at Massive Oak Extraction. The nose offered sherry, spiced wine and charcuterie, creme brulee and chocolate raisin sweetness bumped into peppercorns, oak tannins and musk. Any sweetness on the palate, dark cherries and chocolate, peaches in syrup, cola, brown sugar, crepes, was beaten into submission by massive hammerbeam oak, burnt heather, old cognac, espresso, cough medicine, cinnamon, ginger and chili. The reduced nose found cocoa powder, then cashews, macadamias, and almonds embedded in spicy fruitcake. On the palate, sweet tannic balance improved. Now cherry lips, panu resins. That was a weird way to say raisins, Adam. Walnut cake and hot chocolate fudge sundae confronted aniseed balls, balsamic, PX, cardamom, and pencil ends. Which end? The rubber or the lead? It was bottled for the Spirit of Speyside Festival in 2023, and it's one of those rare releases. You can take a look at the artwork there. Hopefully that's in somewhere around here. I'll be able to get it in focus. Oop. Oh, it's all gone screwy. Anyway. There's a magic secret hidden spot somewhere that makes... There we go. I think that's got it, hasn't it? Anyway, beautiful artwork. Massive oak extraction. And a beautiful whiskey, which I'm going to pour some for myself right now. And feel very lucky that I get to try this again, because, as I said, it's sold out quite... I would say sold out with gusto. And if it's not sold out everywhere else, I will be very surprised, because this is Distillery 24. Another one of those distilleries that gets asked about an awful lot. All right. So, my memory of this was big sort of meaty Oloroso sherry flavors and PX flavors, and it actually reminded me more of a Mortlock than a Macallan, which is what it actually is. Big ginger chili, yeah. Oh man, that's a lot of flavor. Oh. Yeah, they filled this to the brim with flavor, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, it's yeah, charcuteries are good. It's like that sort of dry cured Spanish ham. Well, actually, no, not ham. Bresaola, I think it's called, the Italian dried beef. Bresaola is not the same without the hand. Or bresaola? I don't know. I'm bad with the Italian words, I'm sorry. If Kristen's watching this, my partner, I failed you. I apologise. But yeah, big dark chocolate, coffee, cinnamon, fig, those kind of notes definitely present. Cola's an interesting one, because yes, cola, but not the drink, the candy, like cola cubes. Oh, it's big. Big, nutty, candied walnuts. Maybe pecans. God, it's pretty good. I have to hand it to him. That's a delightful whiskey, and one of the big reasons it's already gone. So yeah, I said it's a Macallan. Macallan are known for a rich and oily new make spirit that is specifically designed to go into ex-sherry casks, and they built a brand new distillery in 2017. And I don't know about you, but it looks like it should feature frolicking Teletubbies. It really looks like the set from Teletubbies to me. Macallan hold many records in the whiskey world, one of which being the oldest whiskey ever released, the Reach, the 81-year-old, which was originally, I think, it's like 120,000 when it was first released. It recently sold at auction for 340,000 American dollars. Yep. That's a whiskey. That's just a single bottle of whiskey. All right. And that's kind of the trend Macallan's been going in recently. The price for Macallan just has no ceiling. It just keeps going up. And I said time and again that the SMWS is wonderfully fair with its pricing. It's a membership-based thing. It knows it's got to keep its members happy. It doesn't gouge. When it has something particularly special, yeah, I mean, it will charge a little bit more for a name if it feels like it can get away with it, but it won't go over the top. And in general, it seems like the SMWS prices things based on what it cost them. Which is going to be super exciting when they start releasing the stuff they bought as new make. Actually, thinking about it, that's fun, and hopefully that will keep value at the forefront of the SMWS's future. But this is interesting because here in BC, our esteemed government liquor stores have the 15-year-old regular double oak version of Macallan for $299.99. I believe it's 43%. It's just the standard double oak Macallan 15. This is a 14-year aged one that is a small batch, a mix of first fill and refill Oloroso and PX Butts and Hogshead from the 13th of October 2008, and a small batch of 2,554 bottles, an ABV of 63, which is 20 whole points more, for $292.96. So almost $10 less than the bog standard 15 double oak. No wonder it found homes pretty quickly. And we're very, I feel very satisfied that the SMWS is still doing good by its members like that. Distillery 24. What more can I say? And I have to say, 2 whiskies are sold out already from this Outturn, and it's actually, frankly, a little bit disappointing that it was a Macallan and a Highland Park, because you kind of expect those to sell out. And part of the whole thing with the SMWS is finding whiskies from distilleries that you weren't expecting to love and falling in love with it for the whiskey, not for the name. And yeah, like I said, those 2 whiskies weren't my favourite from this Outturn. They haven't been so far yet today. They aren't today, because there's already something earlier on that I would say is my pick, the Deanston. But the last whiskey of the day was a close second. Mind Those Chili Fingers. A wonderful aroma came detailed with mentholated peat smoke, natural tar resins, fir wood extracts, camphor, bonfire smoke, and hot paprika. Beyond that, we also noted chili oil, charcoal embers, smoky chipotle chili paste, and aniseed liqueur. Reduction brought pickled tarragon leaves, menthol tobacco, rosewood iodine, black olive breads, and dried seaweed. Black olive bread, I think, has appeared twice in this Outturn, which is kind of strange. The neat palette was massive. A heady thrill ride of exotic hardwood resins, shoe polish, sweet black licorice, smoked black tea, putty, smoke treacle, and pure iodine. With water, we found it more mentholated, exhibiting dried mint and eucalyptus resin, then ointments, peaty waxiness, black pepper, and hot barbecue sauce. After maturing in a bourbon hogshead for 6 years, this was then transferred to a number 4 plus heavily charred refill hogshead. So I'm guessing 4 is the highest char level of standard. So I'm guessing a 4 plus means what other people would refer to as an alligator char. And it kind of tastes a little bit like that. This is for me a great alternative to a very limited edition, definitely sold out everywhere, Ardbeg that came out a while ago, from a distillery that I prefer over Ardbeg. Sorry, Ardbeg lovers. Sorry, Lawrence Graham, whose license plate is Ardbeg. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but it's fairly common knowledge. It's a number 10. A distillery that I mentioned earlier on I mentioned it when I was talking about the Deanston, because it's owned by the same people. This is 10.246. 2468, who do we appreciate? Unahaben. It's a sister cask as well to a couple, actually 3. This is the 4th. It's a quintilogy. A sister cask to Make Moyna a Devil from February of 2021, a Slice of Peat Heaven from December of 2021, and a Firefighter's Reward, which I have a heel of over there, from December 2023. Maybe I should grab that. I might do a little side-by-side after this. Yeah, love Boonhaven. 20% of their whiskey is peated, 80% is unpeated. So this is a rare style of Boonhaven. It's heavily peated, according to the SMWS as well. Interesting distillery because it's on the north end of Islay, and they actually built an entire, basically, community. They built housing, a road, a dock, and it all in all cost them £30,000, which doesn't sound like a lot of money, and it isn't, even with inflation. In today's money, £30,000 back then in 1881 is £2.6 million. So in dollars, that's what? $4,000-ish? Sorry, $4 million ish. 4,000 would be ridiculous. $4 million. As I think one of our customers that was at the Outturn tasting and heard that trivia, who works in government, said the feasibility study alone would cost $4 million these days, which is probably about right. Yeah, mind those chili fingers. Oh, if you're after a big old heaping of peat, this is a lovely way to finish off the Outturn and a fantastic, heavily smoky whiskey. It smells on the nose like mustard powder and Lafroig. I love how Lafroig is now a tasting note for whiskies. It's such a quintessential flavour that it can be used to describe other flavours. Yeah, it has that sort of iodine richness to it. Yeah, they say chili, I say mustard. To me, this is pure yellow mustard powder, mainlined, or snorted, perhaps. I shouldn't make drug references. Don't do either of those things to mustard. It would probably kill you. Also, don't do drugs. Outside of maybe, caffeine and alcohol. Yeah. Chili oil, charcoal embers, chipotle chili paste. Yeah, I really am getting more on the mustard side of things. I find that a lot these days in smoky whiskey, actually. Wonder why. I see where they're going with the whole resin shoe polishy thing. But to me, it's there, it's a baseline, but it's thin. Like, it's fleeting. I get those oily, deeper, richer, darker flavors, but they kind of like puff in they puff into smoke. Yeah. Paprika. Yeah, I see the paprika. I'm sticking with mustard, though. 17th of October 2013, 214 bottles came out at 59.7% alcohol. And we do still have some of this available, and it can be yours for $232.96 at strathliquor.com. /SMWS. I'll get you right to the correct page. So yeah, thank you all for joining us. It's been a wonderful Outturn. I look forward to seeing you all at the next Outturn. Again, those dates, tickets are available right now for Thursday, March 28th at 7 p.m. and Sunday, April 7th at 3 p.m. Special new start time, so you can get some live blues music afterwards. And of course, we are sold out already for our special dinner on the Friday. Thank you all for tuning in. I will see you next time. Sláinte mhath.
Freedom, 15 from heading back to the gray zone. gasworks,